Hello everyone, I hope you're doing fine. My name is Skyline. It is May 2nd, and as you know, it is National Life Insurance Day. So it's a really great value. I guess if you have a kid, give them life insurance when they're born. It really pays off, so some good financial advice to kick off the daily. This is daily number 13, and we have Kongdoo Panthera versus Lunatic Hai once again. This is the same set. And so, yeah, this is the same set we did yesterday, except now we're on Dorado, and Kongdoo Panthera will be playing a particularly juicy defensive lineup. It's pretty cool. There are no DPS heroes. Oh, whoa, no DPS heroes. That's weird. Instead, they have Rascal on our Mei. So, what does this lineup accomplish? Well, let me show you the hero pick rate for Lunatic Hai. I'm going to bring it up right now, and I will explain to you why, kind of the weakness, and how you can metagame Lunatic Hai so hard, right? So here we are. This is Lunatic Hai, and over the course of only a couple, only a few maps, this is so far we've seen them here. Casted in Apex, right? So this is not too much, but they did the same thing last season as well, right? Miro, only Winston. Toby, only Lucio. This is on attack and defense, by the way. Whoa. We had an update. Anyway, who are you? Only Genji. That's it. Zumba, only Soldier and Diva, right? So you can metagame pretty hard on Lunatic Hai, and they're pretty much not going to swap. So what Kongdoo Panthera has done this entire set, and they've done it really, really well, is pick team compositions that are they just beat them. They just beat them in metagame. The only issue is Lunatic Hai is just so good, they tend to overcome it, and sometimes Kongdoo Panthera makes some, makes some little mistakes. So we will wind up seeing that here. But to suffice to say, this lineup is really good against this lineup because, yeah, there's not a lot of damage, but at the same time, you don't really need that much. Rascal on Mei, that's enough damage, combined with Birdring's Roadhog. So Lunatic Hai, and that was a pretty sick headshot. Really well done there by Rascal. Really nicely done. But if you look at this, how does Lunatic Hai really get in? Really, we have a Mei here, so she can wall that off. She can wall over there off. She can wall the window up theoretically. So the way for Lunatic Hai to approach this would be to A, pick just a normal long-range punching comp, like DPS-oriented composition, because Kongdoo Panthera has no way of getting to you. But they're not. They're Lunatic Hai, so they will find a way with hard dive, because that is what they do. Now, of course, to get around the Mei, there's not a lot of damage here, so you want to overwhelm them and come from a bunch of different sides all at once, maybe from behind too. If you do that, Kongdoo Panthera will have a hard time shutting you down as long as you dodge Birdring's hook. So we'll see if Lunatic Hai decides to do that. They do decide to do that. But before that, they run in sort of the intended way, the way that is intended, and they get completely shut down. The wall will cut off Ryujie Hong's Zenyatta very nicely, and despite getting a pretty early pick on Birdring, surprisingly, on the Roadhog, that's basically it. There's not much you can do. Pretty much the only way for Kongdoo Panthera to really kill, Lunatic Hai to really kill Kongdoo Panthera is to kill Luffy really early. And Luffy is he's playing very safely in this particular composition. So ideally, if Kongdoo Panthera plays this correctly, Lunatic Hai really should not be able to break this because they can't dive anyone. The only person they can dive is Luffy, and if Luffy plays it right, that's it. Eska has to hit a pulse bomb. If Eska hits a pulse bomb, they can break through it. But with Rascal taking an early kill on Zenyatta, this is another failed push. So notice that Who Are You is getting a blade as well, but Lunatic Hai, this composition does not have big long-term real gain. They have nothing to look forward to. It's not like they have a nano visor to look forward to. They don't have a graviton. They have nothing. The only thing they're looking forward to is just a bare blade from Who Are You. Not even an Anarch, as Ryujie Hong is on the Zenyatta. So as long as Void doesn't burn the sound barrier until Who Are You pops blade, they should be fine. If Kongdoo Panthera uses the sound barrier before the blade hits, then they could be in trouble because, you know, Blade's pretty good. So fortunately, Eska misses the pulse bomb. That's not too bad there. But we have the one fatal mistake. Truly fatal. So, like I said before, pop barrier before Blade. Who Are You is dashing up specifically to use his Blade right now. But you're going to see he's like, never mind. No, we're not going to do that. Furthermore, though, even more fatally, is that not only was this barrier too early, but it also did not hit pretty much the only target that mattered, which was Reinhardt. I don't know where Reinhardt is. I've looked and I've looked and I've searched through this VOD and I can't find him. It's not very high quality, so it's pretty hard to see. And he's somewhere very isolated, though. Somewhere very isolated. And so Fissure on Reinhardt goes down very early on Kongdoo Panthera. Who, by the way, really nice job by Who Are You holding Blade, because he did dash up specifically to use it, and then he was like, never mind, we're not going to. So this fight is basically won by Lunatic Hai already, because they still have a Blade on Who Are You. So if things start to go south, then that's donezo pretty much for Kongdoo Panthera, because Who Are You can just use Blade anyway. So they clean it up. Now, looks like Kongdoo Panthera tries to stall out for a little bit longer. I think that this was trying to wait for the Mei, because Rascal was almost here. It looked like a completely wasted shatter, and it was, but you can see the concept. You can see the concept behind it. Well, it did, you know, unfortunately run into the shield. You can see just how close it actually was. Rascal was right here by the time they capped. And if Rascal had gotten on, he could have used his wall, he could have used his ice block, and then Bird Ring could have gotten on with Genji, and then they could have really put some real stall out. But it was not to be. And so, of course, Lunatic Hai doing the usual, pushing out, clearing out everything. Great. Perfect. And now, Who Are You will wind up lurking in the back for mostly just to try to find people back there, try to scout it out a little bit. But he lingers a little bit too long, along with Eska. And so as a result, neither Who Are You on Genji or Eska on Tracer are available. Right now there are 4 Lunatic Hai members attacking through this point, and Kongdoo Panthera is already back. And they notice it. Kongdoo Panthera notices it very much. And so they wind up diving. The camera's not on them right now, but you can see it. Kongdoo Panthera takes the chance, takes the opportunity, dives in, and takes a pretty easy victory in this team fight over Lunatic Hai, because they just didn't quite have everything. They didn't have Who Are You's Blade specifically. And Eska was not in exactly the right position when the fight started. Ooh, some nice headshots there. Almost takes out Who Are You from Bird Ring. Got him some nice ultimate charge as well. So now we've swapped onto more standard stuff. Obviously, you can't run the composition we were running before on the second point. So now Kongdoo Panthera is pretty much running. That's exactly the same. Not even pretty much. So Zumba actually decides to swap off to the Soldier here. And now this shows confidence, because D.Va, well, in that early part of Dorado, the second area, D.Va is actually better. Because remember, Zumba only plays 2 heroes, guys, Soldier and D.Va, so far. He has not shown us a single other hero in all the tournaments they've played in Apex Season 3. All the maps, rather, they've played in Apex Season 3. So whether you choose Soldier or D.Va, well, D.Va is obviously stronger earlier on in this section, because she can take control of this high ground. But Soldier is stronger later on, because once you have pushed past here, Soldier is better on the high ground. All right. So Lunatic Hai going for a little bit more of the long-term benefit here. Remember, they only have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, so this is understandable. They don't want to be shut down, because with a D.Va, just losing 2 or 3 fights, suddenly you're dead, and you've lost the map. With a Soldier, at least you're guaranteeing some high ground presence, a visor later on once you push through this. And so Who Are You as the Blade? He's going to use it, destroy everybody. Void, unfortunately, was not able to quite get his sound barrier. And so it's kind of interesting, actually, that Waka Waka is, well, the Lucio player kind of swaps on this team. Waka Waka is decided to play Soldier here, when normally Void play, like, they have weird people playing Lucio. I'll actually just bring it up. So remember, this is not a super heavy sample size, but you can tell that Kongdoo Panthera is trying some funky stuff, because normally Waka Waka plays Lucio, and Void sometimes plays Lucio, right? So they wanted the Soldier here, which is why they put Void on the Lucio. They did not want the Diva. And the reason they didn't want the Diva is because we were explaining before that, well, Soldier's pretty good on this second point on the high ground. Cool, cool, cool. Now, a very nice barrier will allow Kongdoo Panthera to push out, get some nice kills. In general, Kongdoo Panthera is doing amazingly. They've pretty much only lost, like, what, 1 fight, 2 fights at this point? They've lost 2 fights this entire map. That's pretty good. Oh, we need to go bigger here. We need the big screen. All right. So Kongdoo Panthera has only lost 2 fights. Hey, not bad. Not bad at all. But we will actually talk about that a little bit later. Still though, lost 2 fights. Okay, cool. Zumba has Visor. And here's what we're talking about, that longer term. If Zumba was on Diva, well, Diva's pretty strong. I mean, Diva's pretty good. The self-destruct over the roof trick onto that second point is pretty strong, but still, it's nothing like a high ground Visor. So Lunatic Hai making a pretty good decision in hindsight now that there's only 1 minute remaining, potentially 1 more push, having that Soldier with the better, longer, the better ultimate is going to serve them pretty well. Who Are You also has a blade pretty soon. We see that Zumba's regular old Visor does do the trick, takes out Void pretty early on. Although he runs into a Luffy. Unfortunately, Waka Waka has a Visor as well, and he tries to use it a little bit, but Who Are You shuts him down. Who Are You also has another blade. He's very good at building that blade, by the way. Probably one of the best Genjis in the world at just building Dragon Blade. Even if he's pretty good at using it, right? But I wouldn't say that Who Are You is probably the best Dragon Blader in the world, but he's definitely one of the definitely the best at building Dragon Blade so consistently every time. Like every time, he just always has it, like a metronome, pretty much. So now we're into the last point. 1 minute 30 seconds remain. Zumba will remain on Soldier because once again they want at least to have a Visor to finish off the map potentially. If it was a Diva, then I mean Diva's pretty good at getting this high ground area, but still you don't have that long-term benefit of having the Visor to really close it out. And so, well, Who Are You has the blade, he uses it, it's pretty good. Lunatic Hai gets to push this a little bit more, but they need to win 1 more fight to really push through Kongdoo Panthera, especially with Rascal doing a pretty decent stall there. Not too bad. Not too bad. Birdring has a blade. Toby has barrier though on Lunatic Hai, so those will run into each other. In general, with Zumba having the Visor as well, this is a pretty difficult thing. This is a pretty difficult thing for Lunatic Hai to push into, because right now they're pushing out of their spawn into a Visor, into Miro who has ultimate, into Toby having the barrier, although he popped the barrier before Birdring used his blade. But Birdring will choose to, take advantage of that. And so I think one of the lessons we can learn here is if you are the only defensive ultimate, if you're the only barrier on your team, please wait. Please wait for the enemy professional Genji player to use the blade, because Blade's pretty good. In these team compositions specifically, Blade is so good. Like, look at all these squishy heroes, and there's nothing to really shut him down very hard. Now you'll notice that Zumba swaps to Diva because, like I said before, Diva's pretty nice at taking control of the high ground here, but they wanted that long-term build up for the Visor. Now that they've already popped Visor and there's no more long-term, it's only 7 seconds left, they're swapping off to Diva, who's better in the short, who's better given the fact that you're not building ultimates. If ultimates are not a thing, Diva is probably superior here to Soldier. And you see Kongdoo Panthera does the same thing. They also swap off to Diva here. Now Eska has a pulse bomb. He uses it pretty brilliantly. Good choice, I think, to take out Waka Waka's Diva because, well, it's pretty hard to hit skinny people, and that Diva was a real pain. If the Diva had lived for longer, then there would have been extra spawns. They would have been able to stall it for longer, potentially even bounce back and stabilize. So hey, that was a pretty fair pulse bomb, even if it was not particularly super mechanically impressive. It was just sticking onto a Diva, you know. But, well, now it's Kongdoo Panthera's turn. Let's see what they're bringing to the table. So, now, I said before, Kongdoo Panthera was doing really well. They'd only lost like 2 team fights, right? Overall, Kongdoo Panthera only lost 3. They lost basically 3, you can kind of argue 3.5 fights that entire map. And Lunatic Hai took the entire map. When you're playing this dive composition, I'll show you like they were playing earlier, the dive defense, like this, you need to be playing very aggressively. And Kongdoo Panthera are really afraid to play aggressively on defense. They're very afraid. Kongdoo Panthera plays this aggro defense the same way they play hard passive defenses. And the result is, well, even though I think that they're technically outfighting Lunatic Hai, because like I said, they just won a lot more fights, just one mistake with that squishy composition and you get pushed in. And so you have to expect fights to go back and forth, and take advantage of the fact that you're very mobile, that you can push up very far to mean you get more fights. Because the further up you fight, the sooner you respawn, the sooner you get back, the more fights you have. And we're going to see the Lunatic Hai actually takes advantage of this. Lunatic Hai shows us kind of how you're supposed to play this defensive composition. So of course, this is a different comp than we saw on point A before from Kongdoo Panthera, but this will show the idea. Lunatic Hai is playing this, I guess people call it dive defense. Hey, alliteration. We like alliteration. And Birdwing will actually, this is a real Widowmaker. He stays on the Widowmaker for quite a while to try to secure this early area of the point. And so Lunatic Hai is playing super aggressive. Well, this is actually just normal aggressive. I'm not going to say super. This is just regularly aggressive, something that you should expect from this composition. They're already contesting it. They have their Tracer, their Diva, all, doing their best to keep the cart from moving. They're staggering themselves intentionally so that, first the Diva goes on, he contests it, then the Tracer goes on, he contests, then the Genji goes on, he contests, and they're holding the point for quite a while. We've already burned 40 seconds. Not too bad. Now, Lunatic Hai will eventually lose this fight. It's guaranteed. There's no way you can hold this forever. One tiny mistake and you're all dead. And we'll see that it comes pretty soon. Eventually Kongdoo Panthera will burst through. After there's a little bit more fighting that we'll see. But eventually it will happen. I'm not really going to be commentating the actual fights and the tactics involved, because I think that with this type of high action compositions going up against each other, I think it's impossible to analyze without a replay that wouldn't be stupid, like pausing every 2 seconds to draw arrows to people off screen. So we'll just be talking about the general big picture. The big picture. So, alright. Kongdoo Panthera is back. It's for real now. They will start to, well, actually I think they might even get stalled for another 30 seconds, but they use barrier to try to get through. And, well, it looks like Lunatic Hai holds them again. But notice that this is how you're supposed to be playing it. Very aggressive. Even if Kongdoo Panthera does lose this team fight, they can come back, because this is not meant to be a full hold. That's simply not what it's meant to be. And here we go. Finally, Kongdoo Panthera starts to punch through, because just one mistake, and that's all you need. That's all you need to really lose this on defense. So they're going to punch through now. But because Lunatic Hai has this composition, they lost so far back, they will actually manage to come back, do some harassing. You see that Eska is still in the back with Tracer. Toby is available as well on the Lucio. Kongdoo Panthera will wind up pushing it to the end despite all of this, I do believe. So fortunately it doesn't quite work this time. Well, actually, we'll have to see. Oh yeah, the blade. That's right, the blade from Birdwing. But you saw it was pretty close there. It was pretty close. They could have taken it. And so that's the strength of aggressive defense. You start hard, you push really far up, and if you lose, it's okay. You have more fights to go. That's right. I forgot. I'm getting old. My memory is going. I forgot who won that push. I forgot that Birdwing pulled it out in the end. It was looking pretty scary for them though. All right. So let's push forward now. And even now, Kongdoo Panthera being a little bit passive, we're saying Birdwing isn't really looking for anything. Ideally, they would be taking a little bit more aggressive control of the high ground earlier, We saw it took quite a while. It took a good 5 to 10 seconds for the heroes from Kongdoo Panthera to try to contest the high ground, and as a result, Lunatic Hai winds up taking it first, and Rascal can't get into position soon enough. So Lunatic Hai gets a very advantageous drop onto Kongdoo Panthera. Regardless, because like I said, they've been playing amazingly. They've been playing so well, Kongdoo Panthera still pushes through really nicely. But Lunatic Hai still has another fight, because like I said, they are so aggressive that, hey, there's more. We have another shot. So they'll come back. They still have the blade from Who Are You, and yeah, it'll run into Waka Waka's barrier, but we'll have to see how that interaction plays out. There's still a bomb on Eska, that can do a lot, and Zumba, most importantly, in fact, has a self-destruct. And the camera is showing some tracers dueling, which is kind of cool, but we don't really get to see the real fight. And we'll have this big fight. Kongdoo Panthera will make some nice plays despite not having any ultimates themselves. The self-destruct does do a pretty good amount. Self-destruct is very strong on this point. And so we'll just be doing the fighting. We'll have to see who winds up on top. Like I said before, it's pretty hard to tell you what the what tactics exactly won this fight without having some sort of replay to be able to look at different perspectives. But Lunatic Hai will wind up pushing them back. So here's what I mean. So far, Lunatic Hai has lost like 4 fights. Yeah, 4 fights they've lost. And yet they're in the same place. Actually, they're still earlier on the map than when Kongdoo Panthera lost 2 fights. So, thing to keep in mind, Lunatic Hai, despite, I mean, they're losing fights, they've lost several so far on this particular segment of the map, but they're playing this composition correctly. This is their one and only composition, mind you. And so now Birdring has a blade. He's running into Toby's barrier. We'll have to see how that interacts. Oh no, Toby dies. So that's pretty much it. This blade from Birdring will absolutely massacre anyone if this fight even begins to turn south, which Kongdoo Panthera manages to save it. So that was actually a way even more one-sided fight than it looked like, because remember, Birdring and Luffy did not use their ultimates, and those would have been huge. So they didn't even need those. They just wiped straight through because Toby died with the barrier. Very sad for Lunatic Hai. Frowny face. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. Kongdoo Panthera chooses to run D.Va here. Well, they're still on the same D.Va from before. They're going to use her ultimate, but I'll let you guys guess. Do you think that they'll do Soldier here or D.Va? That's kind of their choice. After the D.Va uses her ultimate. We'll see. They don't win this fight, by the way. Lunatic Hai does a good job of choking them out, being aggressive. Barrier is actually used from Lunatic Hai. And it doesn't hit quite everyone. And plus, it doesn't wait for Birdring's blade. But Birdring is dead anyway, so it doesn't quite matter. And like I said before, Lunatic Hai will hold this particular area. And Void used the ultimate already. And with only 1 minute and 46 seconds left, Void will actually stay on the D.Va. I would normally recommend to swap off to something like a Soldier, something that has that ultimate you can look forward to really finish the map off, because D.Va doesn't have quite the same final punching power that a Soldier Visor has, for example. And so Rascal will be Rascal. He's been playing like an absolute maniac this entire set. Gets off a pulse bomb plus a nice old left click into Pilot D.Va, and a little bit overly aggressive from Fissure will feed quite a bit of ultimate charge to Lunatic Hai. If we actually look at that before he jumped in, where are we? Whoops. Okay, so yeah, if we look at that before he jumped in, it finished off the ultimates for a few of the members of Lunatic Hai. There's now all sorts of nasty stuff. There's a blade. But Waka Waka has a barrier. He's going to choose to use it, which will wind up mitigating a lot of Who Are You's blade. He still gets the Zenyatta, and Birdring with a nice counter blade as well. So Kongdoo Panthera will continue to push this. But they've lost 2 fights now. So Lunatic Hai has lost 2 fights on this last section, but they're still going to come back. There's still hope. Kongdoo Panthera, I think, lost 3 fights to lose the map, or 4 fights to lose the map. Lunatic Hai has lost double that so far, and they're still in it. And that is how you play it. And that is how you play it. So now it's all about whether Lunatic Hai can stabilize. Right now, they're obviously going to stay on, well, the Lunatic Hai heroes. Like I said, Miro only plays Winston, Toby only plays Lucio, and Who Are You only plays Genji. So, and those are the best heroes to stabilize on defense in this case. So that was pretty obvious. They're going to come in here, and Kongdoo Panthera's lineup, unfortunately, without the soldier. See? It comes back in the end to bite them. Without the soldier, does not have enough damage to quite punch through this returning force of Lunatic Hai. And so, Lunatic Hai stabilizes, and that's the set. They take this map. That's the map, rather. So I guess we'll take questions now. But that really showcased how Kongdoo Panthera really, I think, outperformed Lunatic Hai on an individual basis, on a tactical basis, throughout this entire map. However, Lunatic Hai just had more fights because they played more aggressively, like they should have on their aggressive compositions. What team is the best right now, like worldwide? That's a really heavy question. The best team? We'll have to see. It's still pretty early on in Apex, so a lot of people are assuming the best team will come out of that. Lunatic Hai has been looking very strong, but other teams have really caught up to them severely. Rogue is a strong team in the West, at least. They're onliners, so we'll have to see what they do as they play against these better teams. But really, just watch more of Apex Season 3, and I think we will start to get an idea of it. I think that the play from just these 2 sets we've seen, the Runaway set and the Lunatic Hai set, have been super impressive. And it seems like it's on a faster. It seems like they definitely play faster than any Western team that Rogue has been playing against. So we'll have to see if Rogue can adapt. I mean, they're obviously scrimming and stuff right now, so we shall see. What do I need to look for in my ult usage as Lucio? Find myself having mediocre ultimates. Well, the most important thing is to first look if on the other team there's something you need to barrier. Notice in these games I'm saying, oh, there's a Genji with Blade. That is a big win condition. That is like Lunatic Hai's biggest win condition is Who Are You just goes and kills everyone with the Blade. So as a Lucio, you have to be like, oh, the Genji with Blade, that's like the most dangerous thing. I'm going to save my ultimate specifically for that. And if you do that, that's good enough up until the highest tiers. Just saying, okay, Graviton Surge, that's scary, saving my barrier for that. Blade, that's scary, I'm going to save my barrier for that. Just using random barriers in the middle of a fight is something that will come over time. That's like pure game sense. One more question. Let's see. What do you think Reaper needs to be more viable right now? He seems underused at this time. Well, we actually saw Reaper played yesterday actually we can even bring it up on the screen here. On King's Row, he was played. Never mind, it'd still take too long to find it, but he was played on King's Row between Lunatic Hai and Kongdoo Panthera for a second there. And it was very effective. I explained it. You can go check out that episode. It was yesterday's episode if you want. I think Reaper right now is in a precarious situation where he is not quite mobile enough or not quite fast enough for the game. When you have characters like Genji who are kind of like him, where he has vertical mobility and stuff, but Genji also has range and he's much faster, right? Genji can get anywhere really fast. Tracer can get anywhere really fast. Even Soldier can sprint around places really fast. And so when you have the game all about rotations and outmaneuvering your opponent, out positioning, and you have Reaper who just sort of slowly trudges everywhere, and whenever he wants to teleport, it's like, beam me up, Scotty, and he has to wait 10 seconds to actually get there. It's a little bit difficult. I think that he's probably a little weak right now. I don't think he's necessarily a little weak. He might have a niche, but if he is weak, maybe decreasing the cooldown severely on his teleport would be okay. Increasing the speed that he teleports would be pretty good. Just increasing that like that. Obviously, he can't have the same mobility that Genji has or Tracer has. That would be OP, right? But just be able to move around faster. And I think his teleport is good for that. Teleport is a non-combat skill that's good for rotates. So, yeah, there we go. Shylock with 4-month sub. Hi, Sky. Do we get to see some quality GM Lucio today? Perhaps. We'll see. But for you guys on YouTube, that's it for today's episode. For you guys on stream, we'll see if we have some more. So, Dumpling just jumped onto my lap because he wanted to say goodbye too. So, never forget to stay positive and have a great day. Peace out, guys.